listening to Night Ride FM.
Night Ride FM.
The best in today's retro electro. This is not a test.
What's up, hackers? Welcome to TTI Live. My name is Taggart. Today, we are going to take a look at some of the goofiest malware I have ever seen. That would be malware delivered via the OneNote application. This has been a new favorite of threat actors ever since Microsoft, for lack of a better term, nerfed the VBA macros in Office documents. So until a couple of months ago, one of the most common ways for attackers to gain initial access was via sending you a phishing email. And that phishing email would have an attachment of an Office document, be it a PowerPoint presentation, Excel spreadsheet, Word document, and it would be macro enabled, meaning there would be code inside of it ready to run. And of course, if you hit enable content on that file, the code would run, you'd get burned. The rest is history. A couple months ago, Microsoft added some reasonable protections against this particular attack vector. See, whenever you download a file from the internet on a Windows computer, there is what is known as the mark of the web on that file. The mark of the web tells the machine where the thing came from and indicates that it was downloaded from the internet. I'll actually show you the mark of the web in just a second, so that's clear for everybody what that actually is. I think sometimes we mention it and we don't actually demonstrate what it is. So I will show you what the mark of the web is in just a minute. But ever since that protection was put in place, attackers have pivoted to other delivery mechanisms. So one that we started seeing right away was ISO files, disk image files, that themselves would have the mark of the web, but the files inside of them would not. And so that particular protection was not as useful for that particular vector. But in addition, another really ridiculous technique that we started seeing was using OneNote files. Now, the way that these work is so goofy, I just have to show it to you. But basically, it's not like an auto run when you open the OneNote application. That's not what it is. And it's not like a weird kind of malicious, we've modified the bytes somehow so that it does something unexpected. No. It is much, much stupider. So I have a selection of OneNote malware here from Malware Bazaar. We're going to start with this Qakbot sample, the one that just came in a couple of days ago. And then as we go through, we'll take a look at some other flavors here. We'll look at the Gozi, we'll look at the Snake Keylogger. Maybe we'll do the Emotet if we have time. And we're going to do this both in dynamic analysis as well as static analysis. We'll start with static, as a matter of fact. To do that, of course, I have the lab up and running. I'm actually super excited about this because today for the lab, for the first time, really, I have it set up. It's set up for analysis. Everything, all our usual tools are there. Sysmon, Cutter, all of our usual stuff is there. But instead of using Elk, because I'm kind of just like, I'm tired of it and the way that it works, I have, in fact, set up our lab to use Splunk. So our victim is connected to a Splunk Enterprise server, and it is phoning home, thanks to the universal forwarder. I have even added this as part of the Terraform and Ansible setups for the malware lab. So I'll be pushing that to SecLab later today once I have that fully smoothed out. So what that means in practice is that if you use the SecLab repo, you get both Elastic and Splunk. So you can use either one in your lab environment, whichever one you prefer. Okay, so we'll come back to dynamic in just a minute, but first let's get some malware down and begin analyzing it. For static analysis, I am not going to use a Windows machine. That might seem a little bit funky, but as per usual, my position is that I will only use the Windows machine for the stuff that must use Windows, right? Like running OneNote. There is kind of a way to do OneNote on Linux. There's like somebody made a wrapper with an Electron app that wraps the web app version of OneNote, but that's not really what we're after here. Oh yeah, I should also mention that in about a month, there is going to be a patch applied. That's really the wrong word. There's going to be added protections for OneNote files for those of you who are using the Microsoft 365 version of OneNote, so the newest version of OneNote. That will be an administrative control that allows, if you just have like a basic account, but also if you have a work account and your admins enable this, it will prevent the attachment of certain kinds of files, which as you'll see is kind of the secret here. So added protection there, but if you're on Office 2016 or 2019, you're still in danger because those versions of Office, those versions of OneNote will not have that protection applied to it. Okay, before we go too far, a little bit of housekeeping. So some news about the Institute. In case you missed it, we have a brand new course. Is that right? Yes. We have a new course, Creating with Git. It is out now. It is, of course, free, and it will teach you how to use Git on the command line. If you have been afraid of using Git on the command line, or you get into situations where you're not quite sure how to get yourself out of it, if merge conflicts, or you're not quite sure how to do branches, or you're not quite sure how to use the stash, any of those things, if you want to learn how to do it, Creating with Git will teach you how to do it. It'll teach you how to do it for no dollars, although if you want to, you can also pay what you wish at $5 or $10 if you appreciate the work. The textbook is also available online at cwg.taggartinstitute.org. You can check that out as well if you want to get kind of a preview of what the course is all about. The course I've been waiting for all my life. I'm glad to hear that, Vanny. Yeah, it seemed like it was something that was missing and very much needed. Early reviews suggest that there are some things in here that people had no idea existed, like Git notes. No one knows about Git notes, but you will if you take this course. Oh, right. Also, in case you missed it, on Wednesday, I got really annoyed at Feedly for engaging in union busting practices. And because I do not truck with organizations that threaten laborers, I decided to cancel my Feedly subscription, which is what I was using for my high-level cyber news research and analysis aggregation, and instead created an open source replacement. Oh, I didn't create it. I implemented an open source replacement at intel.taggartinstitute.org. So, if you let me log in here. If you come on, go to intel.taggartinstitute.org, it'll just work. You don't have to log in because the feed is free. But if you decide to what do I want to say about this? We're not going to open it up to free accounts just yet because it seems like the main feed is okay. But I am the one who's curating it. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. So right now, these are like the new things in there. But once these are kind of processed, then the whole feed becomes available. But you can also just subscribe to this feed as an RSS feed itself. So if you want to pull this collection down into your RSS feed reader, you can do that. So either way you want to work with that, you can in fact do that. Intel.taggartinstitute.org. And we've tried to curate it so that it is high quality news, right? And analysis. I've also put in a little bit of national security, U.S. national security analysis and foreign policy. The reason I've included those sources is because for higher level intel analysts that have to consider tactics, techniques, procedures, and targeting for threat models, it really, really helps to understand the geopolitical landscape, what's going on. For example, just yesterday, I was reading an article about the implications of the China broker deal between Iran and Saudi Arabia. That has massive geopolitical implications in that region, but it also may have cyber implications because of shared capabilities. And also different targeting priorities for those countries. So I've included those in there as well. If that's not your thing, I totally understand, but I find it super valuable to be informed about that level of the board as well. Okay. Housekeeping out of the way. The first thing I said that I was going to do was show you the mark of the web. So let me do that. In fact, I will do that with this picture here. So I'm going to save this image as the CWG banner. I'll just put that in downloads. And I'm going to get a little PowerShell going over here. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get item. And if I do CWG banner, it just shows me that, right? But one of the things about get item is that it has a stream option. And one of the things that's kind of interesting about NTFS is that it has the capability to support multiple data streams for the same file. By default, you're getting the content stream, but there can be others. So if I get item and I specify -stream star, now I get two things. I'm sorry, the content, the data stream, not content stream. The default stream is this data stream here. And that's where the image is in this case. But because I downloaded this thing from the internet, it also has another data stream. By the way, data streams only exist on NTFS. If you move this thing over to a Linux machine, this information is lost. Okay? So just be aware of that. But because this thing is on NTFS and I have this alternate data stream, notice that the data stream is zone.identifier. So if I want to see what the zone identifier actually is, instead of using get item, I'm going to use get content and then specify the stream zone.identifier. When I do that, you can see that the identifier is listed as a zone transfer, zone ID 3, that's the internet zone, and that right there is the mark of the web. That is what identifies a file as having been downloaded from the internet zone, as opposed to the intranet zone, right? Something came from a network file share. And then, unless your browser does something goofy, you will have the refer URL and the host URL where the thing actually came from. And let me tell you, in digital forensics, this is invaluable information. So I have found that the Brave browser actually strips this information, which kind of sucks. I wish it did not do that. It'll just show you that it came from like internet. All right, that's the mark of the web, in case you were curious. Now, let's get some malware going. I actually have our first sample downloaded, this Qakbot sample. Qakbot's usually spelled without a U, and you can see we have two different tags here for it. We've got file type 1. If you want to search for OneNote malware, the way you do it in Malware Bazaar is file type and then 1, because then you can add a file extension for the things. It's a really nice filter. Okay, so we have this thing down, and I have put it both on my Kali machine, which is where we're going to do some static analysis, as well as I've put it on our jump box so that our victim can get access to it when we're ready to do so. But we're going to start with static analysis. I'm going to deploy a couple of new tricks for our static analysis. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to use flat packs as much as I can in my workflow these days. And the reason for that is I want to make it, especially for malware analysis, I want it as sandboxed as possible, but I also, that means I don't have to rely so much on OS versions of things. I have the ability to have, you know, faster updates of packages than I could rely on for other things. And it also means I don't have to like search GitHub for packages as much. That's crazy helpful to me. Hey, Katie. Good to see you. So I'm going to search Flatpat for Cutter. I could also have just gone to FlatHub and done that. That might have been a smarter thing to do and get that going. And we actually have a couple of other pieces that I want. Oh, awesome. All right. So we're going to install these two. The RE Ryzen.Cutter we're going to install. So sudo flatpak install. And you can already tell that we're going to be using something else, which is this imhex hex editor, which I've recently fallen in love with. All right, so we're going to install Cutter, and then we're going to install the Ryzen, the Ghidra, RZ Ghidra plugin as well. And that'll give us the decompiler. And what's nice is this will all be sandboxed, right? Pretty handy, I would say. Okay. Meanwhile, we have the zip file here. I'm going to use 7-zip to extract it. The reason I use 7-zip is because it's much easier to use the password there. So password is infected, just like everything from Malware Bazaar. Okay, we have a OneNote file. Now, there's one other tool that I want to bring to bear on this just for easy analysis. And shout out to who recommended this. It was in our Discord. Shout out to Anub Rekton, who hipped me to this tool. Crazy useful for this exact use case, which is OneNote. The OneNote file format is a binary blob. It's not like Word documents where there's zip files, right, with extra steps. The OneNote is a binary blob, and you can go read the Microsoft spec on the OneNote file. Like you can reverse engineer it to understand how they're put together. It is a huge pain though, and I'm glad someone took the effort to make it happen. So we're gonna just grab this here. And we can run the pip install actually, like so. That'll work. But I am reasonably certain. Can I do pipex? Did they make it a PyPy package? Yes. Thank you. So if you're catching on, basically what I'm trying to do is isolate all my installs as much as possible. It's not really for security. It's a little bit of a barrier, but not much. But what it's really for is to make sure that all the dependencies of the applications are available to me. Okay. Hold on a second. I just needed more screen space for this. That was really long. So we're getting the Ghidra plugin for Cutter so that it can do decompilation. I almost never use decompilation, but just in case. Yes. All right, while that is installing, we can run OneNote. So basically, we're going to do F here, and we're going to point it to our .1 file with that long SHA-256 hash. And what this will do is it's going to extract any files that are inside of this OneNote file. So this is kind of like a one move. It's pretty handy. So what do we have here? We have a ping. We have a .info file, a .img. Interesting. Some text files, a .dat. We'll be diving into that, I'm sure. Interesting. Okay. At this point, I am going to take a look at the directory in Visual Studio Code. And the reason I'm doing that is because there are going to be a bunch of different kinds of files in here, and I want to be able to see what I'm dealing with. No, I don't trust these authors. Thank you. Restricted mode is actually pretty handy for exactly this. All right, so let's look at the images first, mainly because they're funny usually. Okay, that's just a white background. Some file icons. There's your IMG icon. Enhance. Microsoft Azure, huh? Little Sublime text going on. Do you see kind of, even without opening the file, do you see kind of what's happening here? Okay, so this is interesting. I ran into this in another sample. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. I'm reasonably certain this is not steganography. I believe this is just noise. They're just adding images as filler. We'll take a look at it with Stego tools, but I am reasonably certain that there's nothing of interest in here. But we have the pings to take a look at if we're interested. Okay, what about these text files? Okay, so more of this. This we've seen as well. So this is just like extra text that has been added to the file in order to add it. A couple info files, the same kind of nonsense. Now for this DAT file, we're going to take a look at that with imhex, our hex editor, because we know it's going to be a binary blob of some sort. I'm really liking imhex. I don't know why it took me so long to get into it, but I am into it. There we go. Documents. Malware. OneNote. Let's look open file1.dat. Okay. So despite it being a DAT file, it looks like it's plain text. Sort of. Yeah, this is all plain text. So this is just more noise. Looks like we don't need this file open. We'll leave imhex open. We may need it in the future. Yeah, this is just more noise. So the thing of interest so far here is the .img, right? Which we can mount. Or not. Should be able to mount it. Yeah. Source write protected, mounted read only. That's fine. All right, so it's mounted. Let's take a look at this thing. Man, tabs in Thunar are weird. Just open a new window. Why, hi there. And let's just, anything hidden? Nope. Okay, so we're gonna just copy that in. And we can unmount that. There's no reason for us to keep that open. Okay, we've got this WSF file. Let's look at this Windows script file. Okay, still more noise. But there was a reason this thing was hidden inside of an image. So we're going to just quickly scan through to see if this changes shape at some point. Oh, indeed it does. Now we're starting to see something. Now we're seeing JScript. Now, this is going to be pretty obfuscated. Now, the thing with Windows script files is that it's basically going to ignore noise, anything that doesn't look like Windows script. So it's going to just see this and say, okay, whatever, and not do anything with it. But the second it starts seeing code, now we're good. So the question becomes, what does this in fact do? And it is long. It is obfuscated. It's a huge pain in the butt. So at this point, the question is it worth our time to try to reverse this thing, or do we pivot to dynamic analysis and see what's going on? And I would contend that if we want to understand what it does, which is really our purpose here, like, okay, cool, it's obfuscated. We know that now. We also have a bit of a pipeline here. We know that this particular OneNote file has an image to mount, and then inside of there's a script host file. So rather than attempt deobfuscation at this point, I think I would rather pivot to dynamic to see what we can see there. And then if there are gaps, if there are behaviors that we see that we can't account for in what we produce in our telemetry, we can move back to static analysis to see if we can fill in some of those gaps. All right, so we're going to take this sample. It is actually ready to go because on our victim, I have connected the folder of malware samples. There it is. Put that in downloads. And, oh, actually, you know what? Before I do that, let's take a snapshot of our victim without the memory this time. And this is how we lab. We always want to make sure that we are saving our game before we do anything crazy. Awesome. And we don't need to save the memory snapshot for these. You just want to save the disk state. There's no need to save the memory for what we're doing here. Okay. So let's go back here. We'll repaste that thing. Cool. And let's get some of our tools up since we know we're going to want them. Now, we're collecting data through Sysmon, and we're going to have that in Splunk. But we also have that's not a variable. There we go. We have a bunch of tools that I've installed with Chocolatey, including things like Procmon. So we might as well get that up and running, see what happens, you know? And there we go. Turn capture off for the moment. Okay, we're going to clear it. Because I only want to start capturing once we do something with our sample here. But we want Procmon up just because. So let that clean itself up. Then let's head back over to downloads and extract our sample here. Again, we'll use 7-zip because it should be installed. Indeed it is. Extract files. Cool. Okay. It's a OneNote file. Even though it doesn't have an icon, it should open up, and indeed it does. All right, so take a look at what we've got here. At the moment, I'm in no danger yet. But take a look at what we have. We have all of these fillers. And this is the kicker. I love this part. Okay? It says, this document contains encrypted attachments. To receive them, click the button below. Okay. Are you ready for the goofiest infection mechanism I've ever seen? Underneath the button, oh, really? Did we change it? Where is this thing? Did they put it in the wrong spot? So we have some text files here. Additional obfuscation, or whatever this is, just noise. Yeah, this is just an image, right? There should be two other... here we go. There's a big, giant white background. And that's what we want to get rid of. Let's see. There we go. So hidden inside this file is this disk image. Which, if I click on it, right? Pretty weird. This seems like a way of transferring stuff, but it's like the the click thing isn't quite as smooth as I've seen from other things. Perhaps we missed something. Let's undelete all this. And just see... Are there, like, click actions? Not really. Is there a link here? No. This is weird. I don't know what their plan was. But we have this undeepened, okay? Which, if we mount it... It's not like an auto run. But we should be able to mount the drive, at least. Yeah. Cool. And we're going to run it in place the way that a regular user would. And we're going to see what happens. So, at this point, we're going to start here. Start capturing. And see what we get. Oh, it even said, do you want to open this file? Yes, I do. Oh, music's killer for this. What you got for me? Oh, is Defender catching us? Defender's probably catching us. God, Procmon. Yeah. Think we might have to try that again with Defender disabled. Oh yeah. And hey, look, it's successfully identified as Qakbot.
24/7 synthwave with all your favorite artists.
Okay.
What's up? This is Miami Nights 1984.
This is Celerec LA.
Turn all this off.
This is FM 84.
Hey everyone, this is Arcade
Great.
High.
One more time.
Highway Superstar.
This is Night Ride
Now remember that Defender cannot delete this file, right? Because it's on a read-only drive. It cannot remove it. Once more into the breach. 10:38 a.m. Just noting the time so that when we go look in Splunk, it'll be something useful. Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. Hit PowerShell, huh? Cool. Oh, yeah. We got some good encoded stuff in here. Ah. Carl Carlson, thank you so much for the follow. Okay, so we know that PowerShell's happening. A lot of metric beat here. We're going to exclude metric beat, and we're going to exclude file beat. Nice. We're going to exclude Splunk as well. Service host. That could be legit. It could be something new and evil. We'll have to see. We have quite a lot to look at now. Okay, TCP sends. That's Elastic Agent. That's fine. You see how filtering is so important here. Okay. At this point, so we've executed our malware, and just looking at Procmon stuff raw is, like, to me, not the cleanest way of doing it. So now it's time to pivot to the SIM. Oh, Splunk. Let's just quickly see what that did for us in terms of events volumetrically. So not crazy, which is kind of good news. Okay, so we have a bunch of sysmon stuff. Oh my god, right off the bat, we've got run DLL32 with a completely bogus thing. Okay, so we know that this is happening, and it's running as SecLab. So it hasn't elevated just yet, but it's definitely using run DLL. That's so interesting. Okay. So what I want to do first is basically say we're going to do some event code equals 1. And then we're going to see how these are already pretty well parsed for us. I am going to do just a time chart count by image. I want to see, this is kind of revealing more than you might imagine. I'm going to do an area chart. This is, again, why I love doing this in Splunk. Okay, let's take other out with use other equals false and use null equals false. Okay. Okay. Now we have some filtering to do because of the stuff that we have running on the system. Right? Shimgen. It's today. What time is this thing reporting? 10:42 a.m. Yeah. Should be good. And some weird time issues happening here. Please tell me this thing is not... Oh, God! Please tell me this thing is not failing to report in. See, these are in the future, which was a time problem that we had before, and now... we're not seeing it. Damn. Okay, let's pause our capture here. Welp. That's pretty annoying. I think that was old news. All right. Well, we're going to have to take a look at this with the event viewer then. For now. That's so frustrating. Oh, we already have it open. Curious. Wonder if I can actually get the elk stack up as a backup. That'd be nice. I really wanted to do this with Splunk, though. So it goes. Okay, let's see what the event viewer has for us. What we're going to do is take a look at the application and services logs first and kind of work backwards from that. So obviously we have PowerShell logs, which in fact can be pretty cool by themselves before we even go to sysmon. Since we know PowerShell was executed, we can take a look at that just to see what's up. And we're looking for event IDs 4104. Execute a remote command. .38. PowerShell name pipe IPC. So that's different. IPC listing thread on process 90 in created a new named pipe. Interesting. All right, so PowerShell logs, not as revealing as usual. So we'll go over to our sysmon logs and see what we have there. All right, plenty of stuff. Now we're gonna go back to 10:38 a.m. because that was when we kicked things off. We're just gonna see what's up. We're gonna kind of walk this. Okay, there's Elastic Agent. We don't care about that. Splunk Monitor. Okay, here is our first item. So this is where we kicked things off, and we have a PID of 5280. That's where things got kicked off, right? I'm gonna just screenshot that and highlight. We've got W script. And yeah. I'm gonna put that in our notes for this thing. And then a gigantic ball of base64 encoded PowerShell. Okay. Well, let's just copy that and CyberChef that up. Oh, perfect. Lock is up. What is that screenshot utility I just used? Flameshot, which is free and open source. Yeah. I don't think we're going to be getting a whole lot. From Elk today. Such a bummer about this, though. I'm plainly getting new data. Orbital has redeemed Play Me a Song. And so I shall. But first, I want to get that base64 fit sorted. So let's just get that done. Obviously, you know, I can do this on the command line, but I like having a base in CyberChef so I have it saved someplace. Also, I don't know why it took me so long to learn this trick, but check this out. So, maybe this is a new thing in CyberChef. So, we base64 decoded it. We'll get rid of that quote. No. We'll get rid of that quote. And you can see we have all these null bytes here because it was encoded in UTF-16, right? Wide strings. If we change the encoding down here from raw bytes to UTF-16 little endian, totally clean. And we have ourselves some IOCs. So you may want to take a look at those and add them to any of your block lists for a moment while I get the piano ready. Notice the start sleep, which, by the way, is a dead giveaway. Not particularly complicated malware here. Yeah, that's a cool trick I learned. right. What am I thinking today? Oh, man. A Joseph Arthur song. All right. This is definitely like a, what is it even? Like early 2010s? 2009? I'm old. Anyway, this song is called Black Lexus. Your black Lexus has 200,000 miles underneath the missing roads. You don't know where you're going almost anytime. Things lost just lighting up your load. Maybe you're heading out to LA to see if they'll put you in a show. First you'll check with the stars, read both your sign and mine in the back of the New York Post. Well, you can't find her, you can't find her in the mirror. Everything's reversed. You can't find her, you can't find her every day. You feel a little cursed. But now your car's been towed, you misread the signs. Something left to do, but it must have slipped your mind. You got no money left, guess you'll stick around. And anyway the stars said not to go right now. And you can't find her, you can't find her in the mirror. Everything's reversed. You can't find her, you can't find her every day. You feel a little worse. You can't find her, you can't find her in the mirror. Everything's reversed. You can't find her, you can't find her every day. You feel a little curse. Okay, song delivered. I really need to get a second webcam that's just focused on the piano. At the moment, though, any expense that isn't directly baby related feels like an indulgence. All right, so we have ourselves some PowerShell here. Start sleep seconds 4, and then orbits equals. Let's take this into our VS Code actually over in our Kali and save it as part of our static artifacts. Right, we'll save this as PS1. PS1. And what we'll do, just so it's a little bit more readable, is we'll replace every semicolon with a semicolon in a new line. You know. And a return, please. Thank you. There we go. Nope. Did I have it already? It was just, I was too far over to see it? No? That's so funny. Hold on a second. Why? Okay, whatever. Be that way. Okay, orbits. So what we have ourselves is an array of locations. Team, why is there a list of domains? Cyber Samurai, what compositions can I choose from when it comes to song redeem? You can't! Sorry. Chef's choice. I have a repertoire. It's growing slowly as I learn new stuff. But I've been playing the piano for, oh my god, 32 years. And so I've got stuff that I like to do, and that's what I'm going to do. For each counter-revolution blondness in orbits. Did you self-teach? I was taught... That's an interesting question. I was taught piano by a teacher until I was 18, at which point I stopped taking lessons as soon as I possibly could. Not because I didn't like the piano. I loved and love the piano. In fact, it's probably the thing that is most me. But... my teacher was a very traditional classical pianist, kind of a Juilliard factory, basically. And when I was like 12 and I discovered Billy Joel, I was like, you could do this with a piano? Why didn't anyone tell me? I wanted to play more modern music and like write music, and she had no interest in teaching me how to do that. So I started rebelling because I was a teenager, right? And so I was like, my rebellion was like, I'm gonna learn Billy Joel songs. I'll show her. But I did, and then when I got to college, I was just like, I can just learn stuff. And so what I do now basically is I'll find songs that I like, and even if they're not arranged for the piano, I'll take actually guitar tablature a lot of times and rearrange it for the piano, and using some improvisational tools that I've picked up along the way, create a composition for the piano. The vocals are self-taught. Okay. So for each counter-revolutions in blondness, counter-revolutions unnecessarily verbose, we'll just replace that with I. And then we're doing try. W get. Right. Exactly. So there's an environment variable getting sent. Oh, no. It's the temp directory, which we saw. That's where the run DLL came from, was legitimistic sedimented. So this is a static indicator. This sample will always write to that location in your temp directory. That's pretty interesting. And if it gets it, God, this is so easy to read. Thank you so much for this one. And there's our catch. Nice. Okay, so what are we doing here? It's going to try every one of these domains. For each IN orbits, try wget I, timeout sec. If get item, end of temp legitimistic set minted, length greater than equal. So this is obviously a length test to see if it actually got the thing. Then it's going to start the run DLL32 and then run function x555 inside of the DLL. That's what we're seeing here. Now, I am really hoping that Splunk actually did the thing and we just didn't notice it. Or it was at a weird time. So I would love... We saw... Okay. We're seeing run DLL32. What was the other term? Sedimented, right? Okay. We do have stuff in here. I don't know why it's being weird about timing, but we definitely have it. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to look for event code equals 22 and then table time and query if it's there. What we're looking for is DNS events. Let's switch that over to verbose mode so I get the raw events. Query name is the name of the field. Okay. This is going to get weird because our timing is so off. Okay, but we definitely see them. Okay, so check this out. irs.gov. But check this out. Capital.com got hit. And it got hit at 1738. Oh yeah, so we're like 7 hours off? Whatever. Okay. So we saw... Oops. So we saw this DNS request at... It's 10:38. We're just going to have to deal with that. Right? And this is it. Oh, this says 1738 too. That's interesting. Whatever. The vagaries of how the time stuff happens when you do resets is still pretty weird to me. Okay, so we see this DNS request happen. At 1738 UTC, not your time. So thank you, Matthias. I'm aware of what time it is in UTC. My point is that when I do resets of the time after I go back from snapshots, look, it's still, look at my time here. It still says 11:06 a.m. And it's not always the case that Sysmon reports in UTC. And often when I do resets to snapshots, it takes a little bit, or even a manual sync for the time to update from the prior snapshot. Okay, so we only saw this domain get hit, which is pretty interesting. What that means is odds are pretty good that that is where the malware came from. Now, we can confirm that with an event code equals 3 first of all, let's do a quick dig on this, just to see who it is. Oh, come on. Try hack me. Hey, Kieran. Good to see you. Let's restart Network Manager and try that again. Nope, not what I want to do. That's what I want to do. Okay, so 207.174.214.171. Let's take a look at network connections that we saw and see if any of those match up. The field I want is destination IP. Okay, and again, we're looking down towards 1738. Hey, look, 207.174.214.171. We had a successful connection to Capital Peru, whatever. So that thing is still up, which means we also have a pretty dang good chance of grabbing it here. Now, it's using wget on Windows, which means it might be using the Windows user agent, but on the off chance that it isn't, let's just try here. Now, I'm going to use HTTPX. And say download legitimistic.sedimented.dll. Oh, it didn't like that. Did I copy the whole thing right? Yes. So now the question is, can we do this another way? Can we get it another way? I think you're missing an I legitimate. That's my file name. I can name that whatever I want. But thanks. That doesn't affect the download. Hey, Mitch. As always, the VODs are going to be on Twitch, and we will put this on YouTube in 24 hours. No, this is a user agent check. And so, in fact, if I head over to analysis, let's see if I can grab it with wget on the analysis box. Defender might freak out at this, but we'll give it a shot anyway. What you are seeing is that user agents matter. The properties of the HTTP request that Windows emits when you perform a wget are what the server here is looking for. So obviously we were able to capture the DLL when running with wget. We can also simulate that. You can find out what the wget headers are. It's or invoke web request user agent is. And if we try that, we might be able to trick the server. And let's give that a shot in HTTPX. Does it have a special user agent option? It doesn't, but it has a header, so we'll just do that. So we'll do H user agent and then that. And let's see what that does. We'll add that I in to make Matthias happy. Still nothing. Didn't like that at all. But hey, we got it. You know what I mean? Which is the important point. This is... Oh, it might be too old. PowerShell 6. I might be looking for something else. This can be altered very easily using direct string or take a predefined value from the Microsoft PowerShell commands PS user agent class. Cool. Okay. Let's connect to our analysis machine and grab that thing before Defender decides we can't have it. Yeah, I know. I know my Windows license will expire soon. I ain't worried. So the DLL that we just pulled was pulled from a PowerShell command. Hey, Benny. Hey, HGB. Good to see you, bud. Benny's asking, what's the RDB client I'm using? I'm using KRDC, which is a KDE native.
This is Dennis G, and you're listening to
Client, and it works great. Okay, we've now captured the DLL, which is what I wanted. We're going to drop it in here. And now, I'm going to fire Cutter up and take a look at it. Windows is commonly used in the third world without a license. Yeah, it is. Now, we're going to go back to Splunk for a second, since it's actually working, thank God. So Splunk is working, and now that we know that we have this run DLL 32, right, what we want to do is we want to look for event code equals 1, and then we want to see just like sedimented, right, because that'll just show us what we're looking for. Table time process ID image, command line. That, we'll start there. Oh, shit. Sorry. Yo. Let's see. Parent image. This thing is hot. Somebody's running Who Am I on this. So we're gonna go ahead and start. Let's capture that. Who am I? IP config. That's so funny. Now you can see that in Legitimistic Sedimented, the DLL that was run here, right? The function name was x555, which is handy for our static analysis. But in addition, we can also do a little bit of, oh god, no, dark theme. Midnight theme? Midnight theme. In addition, we're going to just do a little SHA-256 sum here against Legitimistic Sedimented here. And we're going to toss that at virus total just to see if it knows about it. It does not. So this is new hotness. Oh boy. Why would you go to all this trouble and then run Who Am I in IP config? Just like announce yourself on the system. Okay, X555. That's so crazy. Now this is running from a temp file. They don't care. But they plainly do, because they went to all the trouble of obfuscating the Windows script stuff. I think the truth is, it's different people. I think that the initial access versus what the payload is are two different groups. You know what I mean? Because it's like, we'll provide you the access, we'll give you this nice little wrapper with a OneNote, and then whatever you do with it, that's your problem. How did you encounter this sample? Malware Bazaar, baby! I just looked for OneNote files. This was the most recent one. It's particularly interesting. And hot right now. So one of the things that we'll do when we're finished here, we're going to take a look at all of our IOCs. I should actually be taking a note of every single IOC that we have. And we're going to put this in Alien Vault. We will create an Alien Vault entry for this. I'll clean these up too. I'll make sure that they're like, well, actually for Alien Vault, I don't clean them. They will clean them. The Shirt Summit. Now the question always with these is, these don't look like, hold on a second. I'm being very dumb. Why am I not using Vim? Yeah, there we go. Much better. And actually, let's make this easy. Hey, look at that. The power of Vim. If you want to know how to do that, guess what? We have a course for you. Vim for everyone. Go get it. And then the name of this thing was what? It was legitimistic.sedimented. Right? So we'll get that as well. And we'll get the SHA-256 hash of our pal. Oh, yeah. We're blue teaming today. All right, static analysis. What else can this thing do? Okay, 581 KB. DLL's here. The functions are not named correctly, fortunately. We've got some subs. Yes, fun fact. Mebibytes and megabytes are not the same. That is a fun fact. Put another way, Dean, the mebibytes with the MI are metrics. They're straight orders of... is it 2 to the 20? The way that I always think of it is that the mebibytes are based on metrics, like straight orders of magnitude, whereas megabytes are based on 8s and 1024s. So what do we import here? That can always be useful. What did we import here? So we got registry stuff, so we'll have to take a look at registry rights. That's obviously a thing we're going to have to look at. Interestingly, it's importing GDI32. That's always funny to me because that means that there's a graphical component to what's going on, right? It's trying to draw something, or it's just importing it to make it look more legitimate. But like, create bitmap. Is this called anywhere? It is. Oh, not really. It's not called anywhere. It's just referenced in the table. Okay. Some kernel 32. Do we have get command line? Close handle, create thread. Virtual alloc, huh? A bunch of this stuff has been imported, but it's not clear to me that it's actually present. This looks like statically linked. No, it's not statically linked. My bad. It's not. I was like, that'd be kind of weird. Hey, Graph Shark, welcome. Glad to see you with us. Hey, I was a sysadmin before I got thrown into information security. What we are doing today is we are reversing and analyzing OneNote malware. So in the last couple of months, a new technique that the bad guys have really taken to is sending embedded files in OneNote documents, which people can then be tricked into clicking on and then executing the malware. They're doing this because macros in Office, right, have been nerfed because of the protections that Microsoft put on them. So we're taking a look at what comes in on these and what happens next. So right now, we've got a live one here. We actually have live malware that has executed commands in our lab, which is fine, right? It's what we wanted to have happen. We saw who am I ipconfig. We're also going to take a look at and we're going to do this a little bit differently. We're going to do where match image PowerShell. Let's see if they've done anything else fun. Where not match image Splunk. Gotta get rid of those Splunk things. There we go. Okay, so interestingly, the only PowerShell that we saw, we have two encoded commands. Right, one of them is different than the other, because the second one we have from WScript here was at 1738. This 1543, that was us. Don't sweat that one. That was legitimate behavior as part of installing stuff to set up the lab. Because remember, our time of start was 1038 local and 1738 UTC. So this is what we saw here. So what we're going to do is then see if there was anything interesting with command.exe. Nope, doesn't look like it. Which means if there's additional activity happening, it's happening by way of the DLL, the Windows API, stuff that we're not seeing by process executions, at least this way, like easy wins. There may be other things happening, but we'll have to look at those directly. Another thing that we can do here is we're going to take a look at event code 3. And we're going to do table time and destination IP. Okay. Now the trick is which of these are legitimate and which of these are not. Most of these are probably going to be inside of the Microsoft space, but we have this 207. We know that 207 is evil, and actually we should add that to our IOCs. We know that that was the IP address for capital per. And, we can look these up, but the other thing we can do is sysmon events have the image. So I want to know what actually did the talking. That's a lot of run DLL. Do I have parent image on event ID 3? I do not, but I do have process ID, which I would like. All right, so 5200. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do a PID, a process ID correlation. So to do that, I'm going to duplicate this tab, leave that there. And actually, now it's time to stack these tabs. Thank you, Vivaldi, so that I have them separate from the rest of my tabs. Okay, and then over here, what we're going to do is say 5200. So we're going to do code equals 1 process. Actually just process ID. Process ID equals 5200. And let's just look at the raw events here to see what we got. 68 events. How many event codes do we have? 1 process execution, which is our run DLL32. Okay, so we know that those network connections to all those different IP addresses are getting kicked off by the same process. Okay. And what other events do we have? We have a bunch of DNS queries and a few network connections. So let's take a look at the DNS queries that this thing is making. And we'll table that to time and query name. What do you think's happening here? This is weird. IRS.gov, Oracle, Yahoo, VeriSign, Broadcom. I'm not making these requests. Xfinity. I'm not making these requests. Why is it making these requests? And on what ports are these happening? Destination port 443, but some 80. That is really interesting. At this point now, what we're going to do is we're going to do packetmon capture Thanks, Rav Shark. Good to see you. Making sure it's connected to the internet, maybe. It's possible. I suspect that it is a technique. This is absolute speculation. I suspect it's a technique to make it look more normal. To say, oh, these are legitimate domains, so maybe it's not evil. It's not connecting to evil.com. This thing's running real slow. I wonder if they've installed a coin miner. There we go. Now we're capturing packets. So this is cool because if they're talking over HTTP, we're going to do a on-system packet capture and grab it. As long as it keeps talking. And it looks like they are. Oh, yeah. They're still talking. We love to see it. Give me those HTTP addresses. All right. Wow. I didn't expect this one sample to be this interesting, but it is. Going back to the static analysis, the DLL. It's not, like, awesome. Cutter's not doing a great job with this. Strings. I want to find... We have anything interesting here in strings? We do not. I'm installing Ghidra to see if it does any better. That'll take a second. Let's go back to our entry point here. Zoom this in so it's easier for y'all to see. Okay, so let's see. Our entry point here, we've got a couple of these functions that get called. What's our call stack look like? Get menu. Then a bunch of noise. Yeah, this is meant... This is... Is it packed? You know what? We have PE Bear on the analysis machine, so we can find out. Those add ALs are 0 bytes. Yes, I know. Just kidding. I guess we don't have PE Bear on here. But I have PE Bear. Not what I wanted. I don't think it's packed. The section names make total sense here. There might be something else weird going on, but that ain't it. We'll load it up in PE Studio. See what PE Studio has to say about it. Especially with static analysis, you want to work smarter, not harder. Okay. Now, we've seen initial access, we've seen code execution, we haven't seen privilege escalation, and we haven't seen persistence. So we want to look for those sorts of things, and in order to do so, what we want, you know, we got to think a little bit like the attacker. So, see something. We'll get out of Sysmon for a second, see if there's any 4697. Nope. Event code, by the way. Windows event code 4697. Is new service. Yeah. So we'll take a look for $46.98, which is scheduled task. Also no. Wait, event COD. Also no. Which means we don't have normal persistence. At least not yet. Now we're going to look at all process executions. And we're going to filter some stuff out. Right? So we have who am I, IP config, some trusted installer stuff. This happens in the background. This isn't necessarily malicious. This just happens. We're not seeing, I don't think, anything particularly weird. Now, there are some things here I don't know, like system setting admin flows. That's new to me. We can check Encyclopedia for that. Okay. Force time sync. Right, of course. And also, these are in the future. Yeah, we haven't seen much. We're seeing network connections still come in. Definitely still phoning home. Look at this. Let's go to an area chart for our time chart here. Look at you. Look at you. Not even really that much jitter. Let's get rid of the other. See, this is why I like Splunk for doing this, because the visualizations are just a million times better. So multiple IP addresses getting connected to here. PE Studio has given us 37 indicators. The file references strings. They're evil. The file imports symbols that are evil. The file contains another file. Which, to me, is a hint that we should be looking at file rights. So let's take a look at file rights. Over here, event code equals 11 for file rights. Okay. And we need target file name as well. There we go. Okay. I know this looks wacky. There's the PowerShell. So this one is important to see and understand. When you see this, you might be like, what is going on? What is this PowerShell? What is this local PSScript policy test.ps1? This happens when you run PowerShell scripts, including encoded commands, because it's the pre-flight to see if it matches your execution policy. I believe this is also where AMC starts getting hit. So this is your indicator that there's a PowerShell script that got run, or that an encoded command got run that you need to go find when you see something written to the PSScript policy test directory. They don't live particularly long, unfortunately. So this is update stuff, so we don't need to worry about that. So this thing's being pretty quiet. It may have... This is the thing. One of the easy wins for attackers is to just wait. You know? If you bore the analyst and then come back later when they're not looking, right? It looks like everything's gone. Now, obviously, we have stuff to remove here, but at this point, we still want to take a look at what else PE Studio found. Imports. Yeah, any imports that are spicy. I love PE Studio for this. It'll tell you what they are. Get keyboard type. Interesting. I wonder if this is a keylogger. Or, oh wait, no, sorry. Get keyboard type isn't about keylogger. You know what it is? It's a geofence. They want to make sure that it's a US keyboard. Well, actually, let's see if we can see that in Cutter. That'd be interesting if we actually could see that one. Imports, get keyboard type. Get keyboard type. There you are. Show cross references. Still not really using it anywhere. And sub. Oh, here it is. Right here. Yeah. In type flag, call. Oh, hey, check this out. We can actually see different keyboard types here. Let's look up. I'm so curious now. Get keyboard type. What kind of data are we looking for here? Valid keyboard types are 0x4, Japanese keyboard, Korean keyboard, unknown type. Keyboard subtypes are original equipment, manufacturer, OEM dependent values. So we may, in fact, there may be, in fact, be other values that we don't know. Right. And it looks here. It's anding. Yeah, there must be something it knows about the way that the keyboard type regions works that we don't. Because what we're doing is they're running AND against something, which is FF. Maybe this is like US keyboard or something like that. This is like a region part of the value. And then they're comparing it here. And they're jumping if it's equal down here. And then they're seeing if it's here, and then we'll jump. Yeah. So right here, I think. Oh, there's this compare here too. Toss that in here. 7. That wasn't on the list, right? No, it was! If it's Japanese, what happens? Yeah, that's so interesting. So, if it's a Japanese keyboard... Oh, no. It's jump if not equal. So it compares... If it's a Japanese keyboard, then we just keep going. Push 1. Oh, then it's looking... to the N-type flag. Get keyboard type. And it wants the keyboard subtype. Interesting. Okay, so we're actually seeing this happen. So if the first thing we saw is we saw get keyboard type get called with 0, so we're getting the top level keyboard type. Then comes the get keyboard, we want the keyboard subtype, and keyboard subtypes are original. Oh wow, okay. Let's actually see if we can find those Windows keyboard subtypes. Let's see if we can look those up. You know. Ah! Look at this. We do have a couple of subtypes here. So the OEM ID, right? Microsoft, all AX, Epson, Fujitsu. Fascinating. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. You know what? This might actually be a really, really clever VM detection. Because maybe it's not clever. I don't know. But let's go to the device manager here. Take your time. We can close the event viewer at this point, since we know that Splunk is working, which I'm very excited about still. Guess I can close a OneNote. Oh, and Procmon can go. Come on, device manager. Fine. Let me open it up on our analysis machine, because they're the same thing. Thank you. Yeah, so if we go look at keyboards, details, device description. There's no way, like, hardware IDs. Manufacturer. Standard keyboards. I don't feel like writing a bit of code to check, but I'll bet you anything that those will fall inside one of these. And because of the way that they're done, right, when we do their AND here, D0. that it gives it up as a VM because it's a fake keyboard. Really cool. Really clever. That's a tough one to fix too. Like you can add CPUs, you can make things not look a VM, but if you're in a VM, like the hardware is the hardware. You have to be pretty careful about what you're emulating. Smart. Okay. Let's show the cross-reference here. Let's go see where this function is called. Yeah. That's pretty neat. What do you do? Regex open key. Aha! So there were registry things that were accessed. Let's take a look at our registry activity. For those who need a refresher, maybe like me, Sysmon event codes, because there are a couple of them. It's 12 is query and 13 is change, I think. Registry event is just create and delete, and event is value set. So 12 and 13. We're going to take a look at both of them. The event code equals 13. And we want... Since we seem to only be working on process ID 5200. Really? Oh, that's right. We didn't actually see any other registry things happen. We may have failed an earlier VM test then. We didn't even get there. We see network connections, we see DNS queries, and we see one process creation, which was the original process creation, right? That's all we see happen here. Interesting. Okay. At this point, I think we've done some pretty good static analysis. Now, the last thing I want to see, 'cause it's going to get large if I don't stop it right now. Stop. Yeah. We're going to do PK Tmon ETL to PCAP. We're converting our packet capture file to an actual PCAP file, actually PCAP NG file, so we can look at the thing. Okay, let's go get it. Oreo Bite is redeemed. Play me a song. Let me get this PCAP and then we'll do that. OneNote malware. It came from Malware Bazaar. You can play along at home if you are so inclined. Here is the... Hold on. There. This is the sample we're working on. Right up at the tippity top. Do this responsibly. Do it in a lab. Do it carefully. Follow Husky's instructions. This PCAP is here. All right, we're gonna crack this thing open. It's 40 minutes, actually not that big. And then we'll get... I did not have 2 songs prepped for today. I'll figure it out. All right. I'm working on a Tom Waits song, but I don't think I'm ready to debut that. This is Fleet Fox's song.
I was raised up believing I was somehow unique, like a snowflake, distinct among snowflakes, unique in each way you can see. And now after some thinking, I'd say I'd rather be a functioning cog in some great machinery, serving something beyond me. But I don't know what that'd be. I'll get back to you someday soon, you'll see. What's my name? What's my station? Oh, just tell me what I should do. I don't need to be kind to the armies of night that would do such injustice to you, or bow down and be grateful and say, sure, take all that you see. To the men who move only in dimly lit halls and determine my future for me. But I don't know whom to believe. I'll get back to you someday soon, you'll see. If I know only one thing, it's that everything that I see of the world outside is so inconceivable. Often I barely can speak. Yeah, I'm tongue-tied and dizzy, and I can't keep it to myself. What good is it to sing helplessness blues? Why should I wait for anyone else? And I know you will keep me on the shelf. I'll come back to you someday soon, myself. If I had an orchard, I'd work till I'm raw. If I had an orchard, I'd work till I'm sore. And you would wait tables and soon run the store. Gold hair in the sunlight, my light in the dawn. If I had an orchard, I'd work till I'm sore. Someday I'll be like the man on the screen.
Alrighty, let's finish up here. What did we get from our packet capture? If anything. Oh, yeah, we did. Look at this. What in the world? Oh, this appears to be... Oh, never mind. This is garbage. This is just a certificate. Never mind. Nope. That's all we saw off of HTTP? We didn't see anything else? Cisco.com indeed. Now, obviously, this is encrypted, so we're not going to be able to see much of anything at all. But one thing that is interesting is that if this really, like, why is this happening? This is a massive amount of data, right? Look at this coming in. And we saw, if we go back to our DNS requests, this was kind of interesting. Event code equals 22. Yeah, we'll do this whole thing. Oh, yeah. There it is. There's Cisco right there. So Cisco was one of the things that was queried. And, you know, who knows why? We haven't seen that in anything yet. It's not like those strings are available here. Now, they're packed, possibly. There may be some other piece of data here that can clue us in as to what's going on. What do we have import-wise? Post message. Yeah, not really. So weird that there's all this GDI stuff in here. All right. One last look around here just to see if there's anything else that we saw. We'll go just totally... We know that sedimented is the DLL that was written. And in fact, let's take a look to see if anything else was written to local temp recently. It's going to be plenty of stuff. There's a database. I wonder if that's an info stealer. Let's go get it. Thank you. Shame on them for not deleting that if that's what this is. Now we can find out, of course, what wrote this thing. We'll take this file name and see what Sysmon has to say about it. Right? Nothing, actually. That's so weird. If the file was created in a way that doesn't produce logging, bizarre. Yeah, that's pretty weird. So let's go get it. Let's go analyze it. So we have this thing. We're going to put that in our malware samples. And I'm going to drop that into our Kali box because I've got the SQLite client in there ready to go. So you have events, timestamp. Let's see, select from events. I have no idea what this is. This might be just a Windows thing. This might not be us. That might not be our target. Oh, QMU. Oh, I wonder if this is part of the QMU agent doing something funny. Or this is, in fact, our info stealer. And this is system data. Also possible. It's interesting, too, because the events text value... Or no. Events record ID, token. You can see. Yeah, I don't have enough information to say that this is part of our malware sample. Because we didn't see any file rights related to it at all. Go back to our image rights here. Yep. Nothing particularly interesting going on here. All right. I think I'm ready to close the book on this particular sample. We collected some good IOCs here. I'll do a little bit on one other sample. So to make that happen, we close off these connections. And we will revert back. This will be fun. We'll revert the thing back to pre-malware. Now, insanely, because we did save the memory for that, it didn't turn off. Oh, but yes, it did. I don't know why I thought it didn't. Oh, no, because I went to pre-malware, not Splunk and Tools. Pre-malware doesn't have memory, which is actually what I want. I don't want it to stay on for this. Okay, cool. Let's get another sample. So I think the next one I want to do... Oh, man, Redline Stealer. Let's definitely do this one. Redline Stealer is interesting, too. Because if it does what it's supposed to do... it will... self-clean. Okay. Let's clean up our... This was in theory a Qakbot sample, so we're gonna... All right, moved all our files there. Let's make a Redline folder for our new sample. Close these out. We just got is 4.6. Let's extract this. We've got a OneNote file again. So, yes, of course, we're going to run the Pi OneNote tool against it to see what it has for us. Ooh. I am not sure I typed the password correctly. I'm going to try that again. Okay. No, something is wrong. File node has no attribute data. So this is not playing ball with Pi OneNote. Interesting. Let's bring it up in the hex editor. Now, did this have any unique... Oh, it has a password on it. It's password protected. So this one's going to be a little bit trickier. When we take a look at this in the hex editor, it will be immediately clear the difference between these two. So let's open the original for comparison's sake. Go to malware. go to the Qakbot sample. Let's open this one here. So first of all, we see plain text stuff, right? It's immediately clear that we have things. We can, even if we go to find strings, right? Very clear, large samples of strings. Very obvious. I love IMHex. How cool is this? Very great piece of software. Now, we're going to go back and now pick up our new one, which was in OneNote and Redline. Okay, so what we're seeing up here, this is correct. The stuff up here is the file type identifier, and these should be basically the same, which they are. But if we start searching for strings here, right off the string that you see is encryption data. So this tells us that this is an encrypted, it's password protected. And everything inside of here is going to be unreadable until we decrypt it. Easiest way to do that is to look at it in OneNote. So we're going to have to move over to Windows first and then move stuff back as necessary. Over we go. This thing is up. Let's connect to our victim. Okay. Okay, time looks good. Oh, that was goofy. I don't know why I did that. Hey, Dust Collector, thanks so much for that follow. And before that, Grav Shark and AGVVAR. I'm seriously just doing this to make sure that Splunk is still working. That's what I'm doing here. Might get it. Might take a second for that to come in. Good old Splunk PowerShell making a bunch of noise here. Okay, it's picking us up. It is. We're gonna have to knock this off. We're gonna say it has to be today because the 9th now this stuff is happening. So we'll say today. It's a little bit better. All right, now Right. Let's open up some OneNote malware. That's what we're doing. Now, you might think, well, wait, we don't have the password, which is true. But in the tags for this thing, the password says 01234. So I'm hoping that's the password. If it's not, it's not. Defender. Buddy. I know you're trying to do the thing that you're supposed to do. So this is the old stuff, which we should delete, in fact. Ooh. Why did it jump away from the password page? Why is this happening? Is it like protecting me somehow? If I close this notebook, what happens? Can I open a new notebook? Open notebook. I can only open... Maybe the bad stuff is already executed. It can't have. It's still decrypted. It's still encrypted. I haven't entered the password in order for it to do that. The thing with OneNote is that it's not no click. Yeah. That's so funny. It's like immediately shutting it down. I wonder if it's basically saying you can't open password protected files like this anymore with the latest version of OneNote. If true, cool. Legacy navigation panes. Does that help? It's not running in the taskbar, is it? Nope. Great. Let's try this again. I wonder if there's like a weird back door here. Insert as attachment. Nope. The instant I try to access it, it's hidden from me. Well, good job, Microsoft, I guess. There's nothing I can do about that. I'd need like an old version of OneNote 2016 to make that happen. All right. Well, I still wanted to look at one more before we go. So, what do you think, Emotet? Let's take a look at Emotet. Let's get that all set up here. Okay, now we don't have any reason to think this one's encrypted. Let's open this in IM Hex just for funsies. Oh yeah. Now, by the way, I just want to shout out IM Hex for this. We'll extract this with OneNote, but check this out. I already have the malware because it found a contiguous string of like 88 some kilobytes. And look, this is plainly VBA, right? So like we already have a pretty good idea of what we're looking at here just by looking at this in Hex. And that's kind of the crazy thing about the OneNote stuff. It's a binary blob, but the attachments are contiguous, right? So it's pretty easy to see. Let's run OneNote though, because it's such a great tool for exactly this. Okay, lots of stuff just got extracted. Let's check it out in our VS Code. Let's take a look at the Emotet sample. Okay, so this one's gonna be good. This one's gonna be really good. Let me take this .1 file and put this in our sample. and drop that onto our Come on, Defender. I just turned you off. I know that there's a way to like perma kill Defender, but sometimes I actually do want it on. Does OneNote support VB? No. Sorry, I'm so glad you're here. It's way stupider than you think. It's so stupid. Okay, so take a look. Let's take a look at this in VS Code first. So look at this. There's this image here. There's this other image. That's the icon for the VBS script. And then there's this image here. And then here's the actual VBS script, which we're going to play with soon. But here's how the infection goes. Look at this. You have to double click view. First of all, when in the history of user interfaces has a button that looks like that required a double click? So right off the bat, what are we talking about here? But that's not the dumbest part. The dumbest part is, are you ready? Okay. Hey, look at that. It's just hidden under the button. And when you click on this thing, it gives you the script. Yeah, it's clickjacking, basically. So we'll save this out. We can actually save this out. That in downloads. Or call it emo. Cool. I'm not gonna do that, but neat, thanks. And I'll remove this from my account now. Okay. So there it is. But also, we have it here. Now, there's a lot of nonsense here, and so let's take a look at a few pieces of it. All right, right up at the top, we've got this variable, and if you look for like half a second, you can see how dumb this obfuscation is. Look, wscri, some nonsense, and then pt.ex. And then a couple lines later, look, there's this e. It's just wscript.exe. It's just separated in a really goofy way. And this //e, we know that that's kind of, you're giving it the script file to execute, right? And in fact, here's execute with a bunch of gobbledygook in the middle. So already we can see kind of what's going on here. They're taking this, they're adding execute to it, and then they're adding here the EVB script. So what this really is, if we put it all together, is wscript.exe execute EVB script. So we'll find the next invocation of that, and we'll just replace it there. I can safely do it. This one was so silly, though, that there was no reason to work that hard. Right? Now for this, what's this thing's whole deal? This one is pretty interesting too, because take a look at this. So we have this long, which is get special folder. Get special folder, let's look that up. What is that doing? It's getting a special folder. The special folder takes one of these two arguments, the Windows folder, the system folder, the temp folder. And if we look at the script, 51 minus 7 times 7. Don't forget your order of operations, class. 51 minus 49 is... Thank you, Sneaky Gamer. Yes, it is 2. This is the temp folder. It's getting the temp folder directory. And then it's using get temp name, which is another method. And in fact, right here, look at that, get temp name. Returns a randomly generated temporary file or folder name that is useful for performing operations that require a temporary file or folder. So it is, sure enough, it's getting temp name, but then it's like grabbing pieces of the temp name and reassigning it, and then adding a .txt, right? So it's just using this for randomness. So right here, we can see that this is the script file. And then this is just the temp folder. And that's a script object. The SY and PY make them sound like startup names for the random words. Prize C, benefit E, damage D, harpy. Yeah, it is interesting. Now here's something else that's kind of interesting here. We can go through this, but don't forget. Okay, this is legitimate code, though, is what's interesting here. And at this point, again, the question is it worth trying to deobfuscate this whole thing? I contend no, because at the moment, I see no reason to not just try to execute this dynamically and so see what happens on the other side, right? Like, it's a nightmare puzzle trying to do this manually. This is something legitimately I actually hope that ChatGPT gets good at, and that we have the ability to like feed in larger files to tools like that, because that is exactly what I want out of a language model like that. To say, no, it's probably this, right? By the way, when you do that, I want to point out that when you do, like, even when you ask ChatGPT to add 2 plus 2, it's not doing math. I mean, it's doing math, but not the math of 2 plus 2. When you ask ChatGPT to add 2 plus 2, what it is doing is it is using its statistical model and its data set, its training set of data, to find the most likely result, the most likely response based on textual input. So because other people have had conversations about 2 plus 2 equaling 4, you're highly likely to get the correct response to that input. But it has nothing to do with ChatGPT adding 2 and 2 together for you. It has everything to do with in the fullness of its data set, that being the most probable response. And so when you ask it to do like deobfuscation or ask it to explain code, what's happening is, unbelievably, in its dataset, there is enough human behavior that responded correctly to those sorts of queries that you're getting a cogent response. But there's no analysis taking place when you ask ChatGPT to do that. It is statistical math at scale is what you're looking at. And it is unbelievable what it can do. But what it can't do is reason. I just want to make that very clear for everybody watching who is playing with ChatGPT. It does not reason. Okay. Let's perform some dynamic on this. I'm going to kick off the packet mon right now, actually. If I can type. Capture. Oh my god. You ever end up with your hands in just like a slightly wrong position, then everything you type is completely off? So for those of you not familiar with PacketMon, what am I doing here? I am using Windows built-in packet capture capability. It's been around for a minute. And I'm using it to begin a packet capture. And when I say packet size 0, what I'm saying is don't limit the packet size. So now I'm packet capturing on my target. Let's kick off Emo here. And let's see what happens. Maybe nothing. Defender is still off. Phenomenal. Okay. All right, we got something. So we're going to say where not match image Splunk. Oh yeah. Yo, there it is. So we got our second thing, which is this should have been for our Qakbot sample. Qakbot. Extra heading, extra heading. Okay. Now we go to our Emotet sample. And all right, right off the bat, there's our temp folder, which we saw in our original code. Okay. Hey, a DLL came down. That's new. We're going to want that. We'll have to find out where the DLL came from. Luckily, we have sysmon logs to tell us about that. And regsvr32 is kicking off this DLL. Do we see a problem already? Like a real bad problem? This right here. Assuming, and we have to do some work to connect the dots here, but assuming that this kicked off this second DLL, we now have privilege escalation. Because that DLL didn't get written there without admin privs to see Windows 32. Which is intentional. This thing is running as admin specifically to see if privilege escalation occurs, right? Or running with admin capabilities, I should say. Okay. So we have a couple of DLLs that we're going to want to grab here. Right? There's that rad folder. And notice that that DLL is already gone. So we're going to have to reproduce how it got there. And then System32. What was that name of that folder? BXA. Okay. I'll take that. Thank you very much. 500 megs. Sheesh. Yeah, take your time. That's going to take a minute. Okay, we now have to take a look at some other points of interest here. So, this is more complicated information. Or this is more complicated malware. It's not running PowerShell, right? It used WScript immediately, but then the second that it could get out of command line stuff, it did. Right? Everything that it's doing is in this DLL. But we have more information to look at. So we're gonna go back and see, let's look at file writes. Let's look at file writes and see what happened here. So we're gonna do table time. Yeah, process ID, image, target file name. That looks good. Let's do that. Let's see file writes. Okay, so we see that WScript wrote this DLL here, and we didn't see any other file writes. Now, that's interesting. Maybe this System32 thing that I just pulled isn't a problem, but the fact that it is 500 megs is interesting. Yeah. Okay. Let's take a look at event code 22. Hi there. Off of WScript. ercaradiator.com.tr. We have ourselves an IOC here. Okay. Let's take a look at that in dig just to get an IP address associated with it. Okay, 188.132.217.107. Now let's see if that showed up in our network connections. There it is. Over 80. Hell yes. What that means is that our packet capture caught that transfer in clear text. We now have evidence of that file, even though it was deleted off the disk. Because we have it in packet capture, we got it. That's why it's always a good idea, if you can, to run PCAP during your analysis. And now we have all of these other IPs. Now, Reg SVR32, you know, some of these might be legit, some might not be, right? Uh-oh. It turns out we have quite a few IP addresses that this thing is phoning home to. And over 8080, why? 4143? What is happening? But we're catching all of it. I want process ID, actually, don't I? 8276. So 8276. Oh, so 7640. This was stage 1. And then 8276 was stage 2. And so I want to know everything that 8276 is doing. Absolutely everything that 8276 is doing. Okay. So to do that, we're going to basically just go all the way up to the top and say process ID equals 8276. By the way, is anyone noticing how much faster this is with Splunk than with Elk? I am sorry. I like open source software. Not that Elk really is open source. But honestly, this is kicking ass. I am probably going to just deploy this for malware analysis in the future. It's faster. It's what I use at work. And there's a free license. I can get ingest, what, like 500 megs a day into this, which is more than I need. Okay. 8 events on process ID 8276. What kinds of events? We have network connections and process creations. So the process creation we saw, and then the rest we saw were network connections. So let's do event code equals 3, time chart, count by destination IP, all of that stuff. Yes, give me some data. What are we looking at here? Okay. All of these happened in the same moment, basically. No. They didn't. Our visualization just isn't, they're all logged at the same time. Unfortunately, we don't have the time resolution on this to see it. We have it here, though, interestingly, right? 758, 756, 5. We got a new one. Okay. Next question. Did we have any persistence? New services registered? How about scheduled tasks? No. Assuming we're collecting those, and we should be. We're collecting system and security logs. To prove that point, let's look at 4624. Yeah, we have logins and stuff, so we do have that data available to us. Hey, CodePill. Good to see you. So, this thing, again, may be, you know, beating our virtual machine analysis and saying, yeah, okay, we'll beacon, but we won't catch anything. Now, that DLL is 500 megs, so that's going to be a bit to process. Our second stage is. But our first stage wasn't, right? It was much smaller, I believe. Let's stop our stop our packet capture. Do you use a VM for analysis? You should always use a virtual machine for analysis. If so, do you think VMware is better than VirtualBox? I don't care. I use what works for you. I use VirtualBox on my... And Hyper-V, actually. I use Hyper-V more than I use VirtualBox. I don't use VMware because VMware drives me crazy. But what you're seeing right now is neither. This lab is taking place inside of my Proxmox hypervisor, which is running on a server in the other room. So this is a little bit more of a professional build-out because I do it for a living, right? So I do not use either VMware or VirtualBox for malware analysis, really. And that's because I'm spinning up multiple machines, and I'm doing so with Terraform, I'm doing so with Ansible. I'm bringing machines up and down quickly, and the Proxmox API makes it easier to do that. All right, let's convert that thing to a PCAP and then go grab it. This thing's going to be huge. If the ETL is 106 megs, the PCAP is going to be gigantic. $400 megs. All right. Yeah, replace this file. Write that monster. Thanks for the follow code, Bill. If you check out our YouTube, there's a home lab playlist that will show you how to get set up with Proxmox. And all of the code that I use to deploy Ansible stuff, playbooks, Terraform, all of that is in the SecLab repo, which you can go check out. Has anything else interesting happened in the meantime? Oh, cool. Let's see. What kind of registry stuff do we have going on here? Ooh, yeah. $1927. Oh, that might not be us. There it is. Okay. And I want target object. Okay, nothing too crazy here. Alex, thank you so much for that follow. So registry isn't giving us a whole lot of information here. All right, we've got the packet capture. Let's get that thing onto a beefier machine, also known as mine, so that we can actually do the analysis. I'm really hoping that the HTTP gives us some information. And by the way, like, this is hard mode. If you don't feel like extracting all this, check this out. If you go to the... This is the one we're working on, yeah, 9B. Check this out. If there's a hatching triage, which, by the way, is in fact recorded future triage now, if you have an account with them, you can download the sample. So let me log in. You can download the sample, and what's cool about that is that it will... There we go. If you go actually to the analysis, you can download the PCAP, and since we have established that the files were in there, like, you can actually just grab the same PCAP right from here. It's going to be very similar. And this will also tell you what it saw, which we can check against our findings, right? Am I looking at the right thing? Yeah, 9B was the Emotet that we were working with, yeah? Yeah. Interesting. It's interesting that there was less going on here. Okay. Did we get that file? We did. Let's crack this open. All right. Easy wins. First of all, Wireshark, file, export objects, HTTP. Nothing. Nerds. Well, what do we have? We have a bunch of RDP, but then we don't have the 188, do we? Yeah, that's missing. Hold on a second. Huh. You know, I wonder if we accidentally maxed out the capture size for this. That's okay, though, because we still have the evil DLL, right? The second stage. Which was this HYMB, right? We have that. Which is also gigantic. Why did I do that?
This is Dennis G, and you're listening to Night Ride FM. Night Ride FM.
The best in today's retro electro.
Yeah. Nothing interesting after we got here. So we can take this DLL and we'll perform a little static on this, and then I think we're going to call it a day. Long stream. Now, the odds are that it doesn't actually have 500 megabytes worth of code in it. Is my guess. Hey, do y'all want a treat? I put together a game. Unspecified error. Great. That's a big file to bring down. All right, I think we're going to call it then. Here is the treat. I put together a choose your own adventure incident response. It's like a text-based adventure for blue team stuff. I actually did this for work, but then this is the like unbranded version of it where you walk through a simple alert from the SOC and you have to process the data and figure out how to investigate it to find out what happened. And there are parts where you may have to perform some analysis. There are things where you're going to have to connect some dots. And at the end, there's a scoring component depending on what you found out. And all of the questions are then tied to MITRE ATT&CK, so you can begin to understand how the attack chain goes, but from initial access to persistence, privilege escalation, lateral movement, if there is any. So it doesn't take long. You should be able to do it in under an hour for sure. Probably under 15 minutes. And it's just a fun little game. And I'm really excited about the potential for this format for training and all sorts of stuff. So check it out. See what you think about it. And if you like it, maybe we'll do some more. With that, then, I think we're going to get out of here, finally. This was cool. This is kind of how it goes sometimes. Like, you can't always get all the answers from your analysis. But a lot of cool stuff going on there. I think the really neat one that we saw was the discovery of a, at least new to me, kind of virtual machine detection, right? With the keyboard type. That's kind of cool. So, it doesn't look like anyone else is on, so enjoy your Saturday. I will be back on Wednesday. We'll keep doing some weird code stuff as we usually do on Wednesdays. Actually, I have a plan that we're going to start doing a JavaScript course. So, if you're interested in that, stay tuned. But until next time, friends, please be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and happy hacking. I will see you next time.